Hello, everyone. My name is Tricia Bethke, and I'm the Forest Pest Outreach Coordinator for the state of Illinois. I'd like to thank Chuck Bergeron and his team for asking me to provide an update on our Tree of Heaven monitoring program. In Illinois, our Forest Pest Outreach Program is funded through the Plant Protection Act for the U.S. Department of Agriculture and locally in cooperation with the Morton Arboretum. We have developed an early detection and rapid response draft plan for spotted lanternfly, so our EDR plan. And every other month we get together and we conduct an forest pest outreach meeting, and we make sure that all of our participants, all of our partners, if you will, so APHIS, PPQ, Department of Ag, Bureau of Forestry, our CAPS coordinator, Forestry Extension through the University of Illinois, are all up to date on what's going on, not only with spotted lanternfly, but forest pest education and outreach. So it's very important from our perspective that we have a unified and well communicated and an effective plan put into place and ready to be enacted should we get a positive confirmation of establishment of spotted lantern. In Illinois, we have high risks here. We are smushed and surrounded by other states. We've a lot of 36,000 miles of road. We've got over 9,000 miles of railroad track. We have a number of public use airports, as well as 165 wineries. Over on the right-hand side, what you're seeing in that red is the likelihood of introduction for spotted lanternfly, and I think that was conducted in 2014 or 2015. So you see northern Illinois and southern Illinois and all parts in between. Basically, that's transportation and rail and marinas as well. So we know we have a lot of high-risk pathways, a lot of likelihood of introduction. We know that spotted lanternfly is 9 times out of 10 going to come in either through transportation, potentially moving on materials or within air or rail. So we realize what those potential areas for introduction are, and we're trying to develop, how do we figure out like what to do in order to get everybody ready for it, especially because it's been in the forefront of our mind over the last 5 years. Thankfully, it's not found in Illinois. So in 2015, I'm going to step back a little bit and give you a background on what we've been doing and kind of give you a little idea of what we're going to work on in 2022. So in 2015, our CAPS coordinator conducted surveys, spotted lanternfly survey, and so those counties that are lit up in green are where the surveys were, and there was nothing found, so thank goodness. Over on the right hand side, what you're seeing is the positive for Tree of Heaven on EDDMapS. So if you're a funder or you're the outside kind of looking around saying, well, is Illinois really at that much of a high risk when you only have like a handful of host suitable sites, or a host suitability risk is very low if you don't have a lot of records. And yet most people who live in this great state of Illinois would say that Tree of Heaven is everywhere. But really, truly, is it everywhere? And if so, how do we document that? How do we make people aware of where that potential host is? So we got together and we trained volunteers and professionals, and we've been doing it for the last 4 years. It's super exciting. They're a great group of people. We have collaborated with our open lands tree keepers. We have utilized interns, as well as the University of Illinois Extension, the master gardener, the master naturalist, all of our steward volunteers, you name it, youth groups. Our youth love to get out with technology. This is absolutely number one fun thing to do when they have to be outside. If they're working on a merit badge or something, putting a phone in their hand and asking them to find something has been a real win-win for everyone. We're very, very honored to have APHIS PPQ staff, as well as Department of Agriculture and our utility arborists working in collaboration on this project. So one of the things that I really wanted when you're training the general public, you need something that's super easy to use. So I wanted a phone application that people could download readily, didn't take a lot of data, and it was just basically easy to use and yet very effective. And we found that with EDDMapS Pro. So we got them to download it either on their phone or their tablet. We were able to train them on how to add a new record, as well as manage their own data. So they can manage it on the desktop, that would sync with their phone app. And it is very easy to use. And we have had great positive feedback on the application. And I'll be perfectly honest, where we've had hiccups in the field and we've been able to send an immediate message, you know what, the EDDMapS team responds immediately. So I really appreciate that level of customer service, and that level of troubleshooting has been invaluable when I've got people in the field actually trying to figure out what to do next. So you're seeing on the right-hand side, that's just a great data visualization of where these records are starting to occur with people getting out and spotting them. All of the records, any new records, any areas, if you will, if you drop a polygon on the phone, which is super easy and great to do, allows us to show what the density is at that site. So that's also a very good visual tool for us. Each record actually gets verified. So over on the left-hand side, what I'm looking at that is each point, if you will, has a different color coding. And those colors mean something very specific, whether or not it's been removed, whether or not it's been treated, whether or not we're monitoring it, or it's waiting to be reviewed. So again, great data visualization, very, very helpful. When people can see something in their hand on their phone and they realize that the record that they drop and when they submit it now becomes part of a data set, is very rewarding for them. And just like that, in Illinois, wait for the drum roll. 2018, we had about 46 records. We were kind of dusting things off and getting people trained up, and didn't really roll it out to train volunteers or the general public because we wanted to get all the kinks out, if you will, and kind of work through some monitoring protocols. But in 2022, I am proud to tell you that we have over 2,164 positive confirmations of Tree of Heaven in the state of Illinois. And that translates into 100% positive county records in Illinois. This was accomplished not only by people getting out and actually mapping the distribution, but we used a portion of iNaturalist data that was migrated over, and we've been able to ground truth that data as well. So we feel very confident that we have 100%. And believe me, the fact that the state is lit up in green, and if I'm thinking about how do I get more funding for education and outreach and training, you know what, having that kind of data visualization to include in my accomplishment reports or my grant requests is very. 2021, we decided that now that we got all these records and now that we got this big data set, what do we do with it? And we wanted to make sure that, you know, as we were coming out of COVID, we were giving people safe opportunities to gather and get out and work in the field and actually work on something that's extremely valuable to the state. So through an update and several updates, which have been really fantastic, Chuck and his team were able to develop the capability of creating a monitoring zone. So not only could I have the records, but I could actually just touch an area, kind of click onto it, create a polygon or whatever size shape is appropriate. And then within those records, within that monitoring zone, then change colors. So that says to me, the person that's monitoring or managing the project, you know what, that I've included all of these zones. I could change the zone, the layout, to include a larger area. And I think that that's been very helpful, as last year we saw that all of our interns that were working on this were actually getting out and doing a lot more revisits than we had originally intended. So we're super excited about that. The other thing it allowed us to do within the monitoring zone is to develop a monitoring protocol specific for that site. Also to look at that area and figure out what industry is there. Do we have any type of landscape material, any type of transportation yards actually where the trucks come in and sit or the rail cars come in and sit. And from there, if we can identify it within a monitoring area, then I can give that targeted education and outreach to the volunteers and the staff that are monitoring in that area so that they can be fully prepared to distribute outreach material if needed. So I love this capability. I love the capability of being able to expand the zones as needed, as well as being able to visually monitor them. Additionally, I'll tell you that it's very helpful geographically to show somebody a picture of the state and have these monitoring zones all color coded to show the geographic breadth of our monitoring efforts. So this is what it looks like on the phone. This was taken right from my phone, and I was out in Springfield, like, here's the monitoring zone. Here are the points within that. And then you can open the form, and then you can also, if you'd like to, you can get directions that take you right to that record. This is absolutely critical when you are trying to manage a lot of people at a large geographic scale. They can get to their records and they can go from point A to point B pretty easily. And so this is something that most people may not think is important, but it's been a lifesaver. Certainly if you're spending a time in your car and you're doing a field day, you want to be able to get as many points as you possibly can, and utilizing this directional tool is very helpful in that regard. So looking at it when you're going up to do a revisit, these are new forms that we tested late last summer and early fall. Basically, you just ask the question, is Tree of Heaven still there? Yes, no. Has it been removed? You can say, did you see spotted lanternfly? Well, 99.9% of the time, the answer was no. Fortunately or unfortunately, one of our monitors hit the yes button and ding, 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 forms came out. People had their alerts in their email. It was extremely effective and fast. And believe me, I was driving, had to pull over and just kind of stop what I was doing and look at the information. And I'm glad it happened because it allowed us to say, this really works. If somebody sees it, it's real time. And so I think that that's very important. That said, when you have volunteers and staff out monitoring a large area on the same days, you're going to get a lot of records. So a couple of our stakeholders have asked if we batch them, so they do. They can batch those. I get mine individually. They're also, each record is reviewed, so I'm a reviewer, so that's very helpful for me as well. The other big important piece of monitoring is trying to quantify how much time does it take to actually do the monitoring? And this information is going to be critical should we get an establishment and we need to be writing a grant to get funding. So now I'm able to figure out about how much time is it going to take, and with that time, how much labor is going to be associated and transportation needed. So very, very useful tool. Hope we'll never have to use it, but if we do, that is there. So I think that that is a very, very, really appreciate that. This is just a snapshot of our new records for review. So this is a great overview. It comes in an email. You can download the PDF. So if I need to actually have a physical copy, I can. I get the new revisits added. I get my daily summary. You can kind of break them up. You can batch them. So it's very flexible based on what your reporting requirements are and what your review time is, how much time you have to review. Maybe batching it is better or not. I prefer to have them individually so I can review each one. I love this feature. This is one of my favorite things, being able to monitor the dashboard. So I can see what everybody's doing in real time when they're out there. Not only can I see what they're doing, I can see the species. I can figure out who's doing what and how long it took, how many users we have. Last year we had over 591 revisits and negative spotted lanternfly records. Yay! This was well worth celebrating, to be honest with you, because we kind of got down to the interns and they took the lion's share of this work. So Kelly Estes and her team really did a fantastic job just taking this updated EDDMapS Pro and taking it out into the field and then allowing me the opportunity to look at it on the back end and see what's working. And we're very, very excited about it. Very impressed with it as well. Again, I mentioned you can do report by species, you can do report by sources. What you're seeing over on the right-hand side is kind of who's using what. Are they using iPhone? Are they using Android? Are they doing it on their web? On their desktop? This is very important when you're spending time developing training tools. So I know that the users that I have are using iPhone, so I would have a tendency to shift my conversation more towards the unique features within that app, if there are any nuances or any difference. And I actually don't think that there are very many, but this is important as well. Looking by county and by reporter, so who's active in what county. I think it's really interesting too to show which county is not being monitored. Where do we need to drive more people to or get local volunteers? So this is very, very helpful. Also, it's very important to see how many records are within one county and how many revisits are out there. So we're demonstrating that Cook County is a high priority and we're spending a lot of time and effort there. So that's, again, a very report for us. This is another fantastic project administration tool. I can add users, I can change my zone, I can manage my alerts. I can set this dashboard up to do exactly what it is that I want to do and capture the data and present it visually so that I can better communicate the effectiveness of our program. The query data allows us to look at location with records, look at the coordinates, look at the number of locations as well as revisits. Again, and over on the right hand side, this is just a snapshot of the query so you can kind of tailor it to what you want, but I apologize for it being a little bit small. Maybe it's a little bit larger in the actual presentation. But it's very, very flexible and we've gotten a lot of use out of it and we'll focus our efforts in. So what we're going to do this year is actually take the monitoring zones and make it look more similar to zones within the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. So what you're seeing right now is all of the district foresters. And I don't have a current map because they're changing the zones right now. And so once they get established, hopefully by mid-June, I will actually develop our monitoring plans or our monitoring zones based on the counties that they have individually. And I thought it would be helpful to mirror that. So should we get an establishment, we would have a direct contact with the DNR forester as well as many others. But geographically, I think it allows us to communicate and collaborate more closely with our district foresters and as well as our APHIS PPQ staff. So this is something that's new for us. We're going to take it out and test drive it and see how effective it is and know that we have the capability of making changes if we need to. We're going to review our priority zones. I think there's going to be some targeted efforts along the Ohio River, so between Indiana and Illinois and Missouri, looking at those industries and communities along the river, just trying to make sure that we've kind of covered that high-risk pathway. We're also going to expand our local volunteer contact base because we're ready. So we've done the work, we've tested out, we've figured out what works, and we've improved kind of where it needed to be tweaked, and I'm comfortable rolling it out on a much larger scale in 22 and 23 as well. And then another focus obviously is just outreach. So how do we keep taking that same message and getting it out in different ways where it's actually resonating with people, and we want to make sure that we're constantly focused on that. One of my new initiatives based on what's going on in Indiana with an establishment, a DNR in Indiana and PPQ and Department of Ag said that the green industry was significant in getting messaging out. So we've been focusing in on the green industry, and we're going to be looking at training up, potential staff within the green industry to help us out to do some monitoring of Tree of Heaven. So super excited about that opportunity. Enough about the resources. So when I train volunteers and I know it's just a one-shot deal and I'm here, I'm always able to get out and help them in the field, either by phone or by Zoom, or if I'm close by, obviously I can get out and meet them. But I always say to them, if you have a question and you're unsure of something, get on and look at EDDMapS and pull up their tools and training, look at those videos, look at those PDFs. They are absolutely invaluable. And I know that Chuck and his staff have spent a tremendous amount of time developing them, so please utilize them. We do all the time. And then in Illinois, we have a Facebook page. It's the Illinois Invasive Species Awareness and Management Facebook page, and we utilize that to put out not only updated resources, but important communication as well. So super excited about those, and then we've got other resources as well that I'm happy to share with all of you should you be interested. I want to thank you very much. This is my contact information, tbethke@morton.org. Telephone number 630-719-7953. I want to thank you very much for your attention. That is not me, and if I could ever get my hands on that cute costume, I will definitely buy it, and you will definitely see me in it, that's for sure. But again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Connect with me if you have any questions.